forgive us, you actually say that the budget did not seek to address the needs of Ghanaians, at least a summary of everything that you have said. You think that is deceptive. You think that it did not address what we really wanted to hear. What exactly did you want to hear the minister that you did not hear?
In one, I don't think, well, I personally have used the word deceptive anywhere. I said credibility of the budget. Mm-hmm. Credibility of the budget because, one, a budget is supposed to tell a nation the revenues that they are going to collect or make in a particular year, as well as the expenditure on this revenue, and if there are any gaps, how to finance these gaps. The budget is made up of the total salaries of government workers in a year, that's the compensation. It's also made up of the interest that one will pay in servicing its debt or loans. And then it's also made up of the expenditure that you make on your initiatives and your programs, as well as your infrastructure. And so when it came to the revenue, when you check their manifesto, they said they were going to take out quite a number of taxes. Mm-hmm. But when you count the taxes that they are taking off, it is not equal to the number they mentioned in their manifesto. And so I said, that's the credibility issue there. Again, in the minister's speech, the minister said, we are going to raise revenue to the tune of 224 billion Ghana cedis. Last year, under the MPP government, we did 186 billion Ghana cedis, and that was 15.9% of tax to GDP ratio. That was 15.9. And with all the revenue handles that the minister is introducing, and the expansion of certain sunset clauses in certain levies, we're expecting the minister to have done more. But when you look at the tax to revenue to GDP ratio for 2025, the minister mentioned in his budget, in his statement, that it was going to be 17.2%. But clearly, when you look here in the budget, I always say that the devil is in the detail. So when you look in the budget, it is around 16.1% and not the 17.2% he mentioned in his budget.
So that's some data
and for
miscommunication.
Issues like that, it is not miscommunication. It is the credibility issue, because in your budget you said,
so
you're
trying to say he sought to deceive us. In
your statement you said 17.2%, and then when you look at the actual budget that was shared with all of us, it says 16.9. So it's 0.2% percentage points of an increase. And we're saying that with all the risk setting that you had in mind, all you could do was increase the tax revenue, revenue by just 0.2%. And also, what we saw again with the expenditures was, one, when you look at the interest, here we are. We always say that we had to embark on a very difficult process, but it was necessary to help us address the economic issues that had arisen as a result of high interest payments, and that was the debt exchange. We completed the domestic debt exchange somewhere in 2023, and then in 2024, we completed about 93% of the external debt exchange, and that alone brought a savings of about 8.1 billion US dollars.
The external debt exchange?
Yes. So we were hoping that it was going to reflect in the interest payments. But what do we see? We even see a higher interest payment than what we had when we hadn't even embarked on the debt exchange program. So clearly, the debt exchange program is not being reflected in the interest payments. And that's how come you see close to 64 something billion, when last year we did 46 billion in terms of interest payments alone. And so that is where we also have issues with that. Again, when you come to the expenditures, the minister introduced another line of 49.2 billion saying that they are arrears. And he was happy to share with us in pages 11 to 14 of the budget that these are the arrears that we owe. Arrears that usually under an IMF program, there's a definition for these things. And so departing from the definition and then coming up you realize that in the budget, there's a line for arrears, and then he brings another line again with that 49 billion explanation. Usually, if you claim there are arrears, what you do is you first collect them, you verify and validate before you even add it to your framework. But here's a situation where no validation has been done. It is not even on the GIFME system. The GIFME system is a system that helps government to manage its public financial issues and in terms of payments. So even if it is not on the GIFME system, how then do you say that it is part and parcel? And then later at the end of your speech, you say that you are now going to validate, verify and validate. Where do we do this? You haven't validated, you haven't verified. Then you say, I'm adding it to it when it suits me. And then later you come back and say, you are now going to validate. So that is the credibility issue I also have. And then I was thinking that they said, one, that they were going to cut expenditures. The Ghana Cares program that really supported small businesses and helped them to bring about employment and also add their quota to the economic growth of this nation has been taken off. Funding has been removed from this. But yet we have funding expenditures moving over and above that of an election year's expenditure. In 2024, when we had to fully fund the EC, we had to fully fund for security, election security expenses and all those things. Government expenditure in terms of appropriation was 250 billion Ghana cedis. What do we see? No election to fund, and no, because the equipment and other things that we bought for the security agencies will not, be destroyed in 12 months. They'll use it for some time, the vehicles and all those things. So then, but yet you see a huge jump in expenditures. Yet this government says that I'm going to cut expenditures. So expenditure moves from 250 billion in appropriation to 290 billion Ghana cedis. You ask yourself, what is it? Finally, the NDC government campaigned on a 24-hour economy. And so we have been patiently waiting for the 24-hour economy. Consistently, speakers after speakers in positions that we feel should be able to give us some idea of this have failed us. I remember in the Honorable Minister's vetting, I was there. He said we should patiently wait and that it's going to come. I also listened to Honorable Thomas Ampim, that's the Deputy Minister. He said the same thing. And we were thinking that in your first policy statement, the big thing, that's your first budget, the first budget of this government, we would see some level of contribution on the 24-hour economy. Yet still, we did not get anything.
The 24-hour economy?
There's nothing on the 24-hour economy in this. But this was
when
one
you said
of
there's nothing,
biggest...
how do you mean? Is it that you didn't hear him mention 24-hour economy?
Mentioning 24-hour economy and putting the policies in the budget are two different things.
Yes, but
he told us they will come back later. It's in his speech.
Because they have actually explained that the 24-hour economy...
You don't need to do the explanation for them.
No.
All I'm saying is that...
I'm not doing it for them.
I'm just looking at the budget.
That if you look at the 24-hour economy in the way they have structured it, it definitely will
Show me the
affect,
structure. Show me the structure, because we are yet to see the structure. Yesterday, we had an engagement as part of the post-budget workshop with Mr. Guzitano, and he said we should give him up to another week. So I know what I'm talking about. That was what he told us.
Another week to do what?
Another week to present to us a document on it. Yes. That was what he told us yesterday. So what we are saying is that I thought we were going to hit the ground running and we were going to see details of the 24-hour economy in the budget. But the budget just said...
on the floor, he indicated that.
His speech is here.
Yes, but he's presenting a 24-hour economy document to Parliament.
I am telling you that it did not happen.
No.
Yesterday, we were...
I'm not saying it happened.
As part of the budget statements,
yes,
they organized for us post-budget workshop.
Yes.
And then if there are any gray areas that we need some clarification on, they come back to us. So yesterday, the man in charge of the 24-hour economy himself was in Parliament yesterday to take us through. And he said they are going to do a couple of things. But hopefully, by next week, Monday, we should get the document. So allow me to make that statement, that it is not here. And so we are patiently waiting again for another week for them to finish us with the flesh or the framework of this 24-hour economy.
Yeah, I like the way
that was what he told us.
Mm-hmm.
But how long can you wait? If this policy was a policy that you campaigned on, that Ghanaians, bought into it, hoping that it was going to create jobs as soon as you come in. The free SHS, as soon as we got in, our first budget had in it how we're going to roll out the free SHS. So clearly we're hoping that should also happen with an initiative
Remind me, how was
in September 2017.
No, how was it budgeted for? Where was the funds going to come from?
You look in the appendices. Mm-hmm. That is where you see it. And the Ministry of Education, you see it there that this is what, and they usually write of which this is for free SHS. So it's all in the appendices. That is where you should read.
No, but
as for the speeches,
that was 2017.
As for the speeches, you see them.
So it means I have to make reference, but I just want you to remind me.
Anything backing the
where
speech.
was the source of funds?
It is not where was the source of funds. Did it happen or it did not happen, madam? In 2017, did free SHS happen or it did not happen? It did. And it was in the budget. It was in the appendices. That is where you find all these things. But here we are. We have seen the big push of 13.8 billion in the budget. Taking all the oil revenues and then placing it under the big push. Meanwhile, we do not have a framework of what the big push is. That's also a gray area. The money has been put in the budget. But as to where, what the framework, the structure, the feasibility studies that have been done to put in 13.8 billion for infrastructure needs, we do not know. So that is why I'm talking about the credibility of this budget. This is just a few on top of my head.
I may want you to respond to some of these questions that have come up about the banking sector cleanup as well. Yes. The banking sector cleanup, the amounts that was put to it keeps swelling up. Recently, we have just seen that it got into about 30.1 billion.
30-point-something is what ATU is saying. But consistently, when you look at the amount that Parliament has approved for us, that is what we have consistently put in our speech. Let me tell you that in 2015, there was an asset quality review done by Bank of Ghana and the IMF.
Of the banks.
Of the banks. By Bank of Ghana and the IMF. And in that report, it was said that some of the banks were going down and action needed to be taken. That did not happen as it was supposed to. And so what did we see? In 2017, when we came, on this same IMF program that the NDC was on and was derailed, we came in, we had to take the bull by the horn and do the needful.
The asset quality report was 2016?
2015.
2015?
Yes, 2015.
Okay, so from 2015 to 2017, was there any change in the asset quality review? Did you do any review?
Asset quality reports are not done in, a year or two. It takes time. And so if one has been done and action hasn't been taken, do you expect them to do another one? No. Because it is not easy. Let me tell you, it is not easy. It is not easy to wash away issues with the banks. Especially, let me give you a typical example. Non-performing loans. It's not something you can make it happen in no time. It needs a process. And so at least start the process. We did not see that. And what did we see? Fast forward, we came in and we had to do the needful. We did the needful. We were able to save about 4.6 million depositors' money. We were also able to grow the bank. And as we speak, and we have seen huge improvements. Before, in 2016, the total assets of the banks were about 81.2 billion. As at October, when the numbers were given, it was 367 billion Ghana cedis. Again, you also saw improvements in the ratios of these banks. And so
after the cleanup?
I'm talking about 2024, so clearly it will be after the cleanup.
Okay, 2024.
We've seen improvements in that as well. And I believe that we had to do the needful to make sure we sustain the financial sector. We couldn't have allowed the financial sector to sink. And
so about the argument that depositors' funds that you were protecting were about 9 billion. How do we use more than the depositors' funds amount to collapse the bank?
Depositors' funds were 9 billion.
Say, yes.
Principal with or without interest. You ask yourself, if this had been done in 2015, would it even have come to that amount? The time value of money. If we had done it earlier, would it have come to that amount? We are quick to say that, but Why didn't we do the needful when it was necessary? Because all these things saves money.
Do you think that the banking sector cleanup, you ended up protecting depositors?
Let the depositors tell you that 4.6 million of them had their monies back.